Hi, it's Scott Haltzman. You know, we've been talking about infidelity, but I wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine that can maybe help explain a little bit of the details around that. Up, Bear, up. Yeah, this is Bear, and he's my cockapoo, who actually, is a good demonstration of some of the issues that happen with infidelity, because, one of the specific things I find is that when people have an affair, it's based on three components: a need, an opportunity, and the inability to suppress impulses. And Bear is a good example of the inability to suppress impulses, because if we're out for a walk and Bear's following all the commands we're supposed to do, and he's heeling and he's sitting, and all of a sudden a squirrel runs by, it gets Bear's attention right away. And Bear right away sees the squirrel and needs to go off and find that squirrel. And it's like anything else that was on his mind disappears at that minute. And in some ways, when we're talking about this issue of disinhibition, or the inability to suppress impulses, it really is part of that system. The idea that a person knows they shouldn't have an affair. A person knows that if he or she is married to you, that he or she should not stray. But when that impulse comes up, that person may be unable to control it. Now, I understand what you're saying. Everyone has a responsibility to control their own impulses. It's actually part of what makes us human. Not only having animal impulses, but being able to suppress them. And yet, studies do show that some people have a greater problem suppressing those impulses than others. It could be based on underlying attention deficit disorder, or it could be based on medical illnesses like bipolar disorder or Alzheimer's. I mean, there are things that will make someone be less likely to suppress their impulses. And studies do suggest that people that have impulse problems often end up having affairs. Now, what you can do about it is work with your partner to help him or her find ways to channel those impulses. For instance, have an impulse to meet some friends after work for drinks? Have your spouse give you a phone call and say, do you think this is a good idea? Another thing to do is have people journal, write things down, ideas that they have. So instead of acting, to think those things through first. Now, another word of caution. I'm talking to people that are married to individuals who have low impulse. And it's tempting for me to say, that's just something you have to fix. But remember, one of the things that attracted you to your mate when you met him or her was that kind of wildness, that spontaneity. And now when you're talking about suppressing impulses, you want to make sure you don't tell the person that they have to suppress all their spontaneity. I get it. One of you tends to be irresponsible, the other feels that he or she needs to compensate. But remember, if you're a stick in the mud all the time, that's just going to drive your partner to want to be the wild and crazy one. So a little bit of wildness and craziness, a little bit of fun, a little bit of letting loose is necessary for the partner that tends to be less disinhibited. But for that partner, like Bear, that runs after the squirrel, or that runs after another woman or another man because they have the impulse, the bottom line is that your main objective is to be able to suppress that impulse, because if you don't, you're going to end up having an affair and having a very unhappy spouse. This is Scott Haltzman.